Hello, friends, and welcome to r/Tales from the Customer. We have 3 great stories today, and the first of them. Moving truck rental company didn't have enough trucks for their reservations. So this happened to me a few years ago. It was June 30th, and I was moving out of my apartment and into a different one a few miles away. I'd made a reservation 3 weeks in advance to have a small to medium moving truck from who we'll call RMC, Random Moving Company. So on the morning of my move, I called the rental company to confirm my reservation. This is my story. Characters are me, myself, SM, store manager, CC, counter clerk, IR, irate customers. I call at about 8 a.m. and I immediately hear, CC, thank you for calling. RMC, please hold. Click. I was disconnected. That's fine, it happens. I've accidentally tried to put someone on hold and accidentally ended the call, so I call right back. CC, thank you for calling RMC, please hold. Beep. So now I'm on hold, which is fine. So I wait, and wait, and wait. 20 minutes later, I'm still on hold. No one's come back on and said anything like, thank you for waiting, we'll be with you shortly. It's just silence, with a beep every few seconds. So I decide to hang up, wait a few minutes, and call back. Maybe they'll be less busy. Well, they're not. I end up calling back, being put on hold for no less than 20 minutes per episode before I hang up and try again. I do this 5 times. By now, my friends who are going to help me move have all showed up, but we have no truck. So my beautiful friends start loading up smaller things into their cars and begin making little trips. But that's not going to work for the furniture. I have a 1+ bedroom that was 750 square feet, plus I have a decent amount of stuff. So after my 5th call and being placed on hold, never to hear from anyone again, I was pissed. So I got in my car and drove to the RMC, and I walk in to complete and utter chaos. There are at least 20 other people waiting in line, and they all look pissed. That's when I hear the root of the problem. The store manager explains it to a customer. SM, I'm sorry, sir, but we do not have enough trucks to fill our reservations. You're going to have to wait until another customer returns a truck. IC number 1. I made my reservation 2 months ago. Why didn't you order enough trucks to make sure we all had a truck waiting? SM. This is a very busy month. A lot of people move on July 1st. IC number 1. Why didn't you call other stores in other cities or states to have trucks delivered to meet your orders? SM. I love this answer. Because we have to pay the other stores to use their trucks. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, well, isn't that the point? You aren't making any money today because people are walking out. So while this is going on, I notice the phone's ringing. Constantly. And I hear that familiar voice of the CC saying, thank you for calling RMC, please hold, over and over. But not once do I see the CC actually going back to the phone to deal with any of the customers. And that's pretty much when my gasket flips. Me. Excuse me, I say to the CC, are you going to actually talk to any of those customers on the phone or just keep putting them on hold and ignoring them? Because the only reason I'm standing here in your lobby is because you put me on hold 5 times and never got back to me, and now I'm here, and I'm pissed. These people on the phones are customers too. As I say this, several of the other ICs in the store agree verbally. CC, well, I'm just too busy to deal with them. IC number 2, that's your job, sweetie. Me, well, if you had at least explained to me on the phone what was going on, I wouldn't be here. But now you're going to have to deal with me. But those other people on the phone deserve to know they aren't getting trucks today, and the sooner they know that, the better they can scramble to try to make other plans. We all have to be out of our apartments by midnight or we could face having to pay a penalty, and guess who's paying that penalty if I get hit with one? At this point, the other customers think I'm God. Yes, I know, autographs were signed, pictures were taken, babies were kissed. Not really. In reality, there was nothing I could do but wait. So I did. Finally, a few trucks and vans came back in and I was up to get mine. Of course, I told the SM that there was no way in hell I was paying full price for my truck, and she actually charged me only $50 for it and said she'd comp that if I could get the truck back in an hour. I told her 90 minutes and she agreed. I made it in time, so I was comped, and she offered me a 50% off coupon on my next rental. But I politely declined, saying that I would not be back. And the second story. I don't want my meal comped. I eat out by myself a lot, but I tip 30 to 40% to make up for taking up a table as just a single person. I also make an effort to be friendly, engaged, and treat servers like they're human beings. I know, shocking. So at restaurants that I go to often, the servers tend to remember me. I've had some really fantastic servers who've been both friendly, professional, and awesome. Sadly, This isn't one of those stories. I was eating by myself at a chain Italian place that I frequent a couple of times a month. My waitress is one who's never served me before, but a couple of the servers who regularly see me have dropped by to say hi as they head to their sections. I'm enjoying my chicken Alfredo. I have about 6 bites left of the whole thing, and suddenly my fork pulls a long strip of paper out of the dish. I thought it was a noodle, but nope, it's a long blank strip of paper. Immediately, I know how this is going to look. I'm almost finished eating my meal and suddenly find something in it, so I consider not saying anything, but I'm a little worried about how this paper got into my food in the first place. So I flag down my server and say, "Hey, I found this strip of paper in my food. Could you let the kitchen know so they can make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else?" The server looks at me, looks at my plate, rolls her eyes and says, "Ma'am, you've eaten almost your entire meal. I can't comp your food." I reply and say, "I'm not asking for my food to be comped. I agree. I've eaten almost the whole thing, but I just found this strip of paper in here, and I want you to let the kitchen know so they can figure out where it came from so no one else has this problem." The server sighs and says, "Ma'am, you can talk to my manager if you want, but we won't be able to comp a meal you've eaten." I say, "I understand. I fully plan on paying for my meal. I don't want anything comped. All I want is for you to let the kitchen know about the paper in my food so it doesn't happen to anyone else." The server huffs. "Fine, I'll go get my manager for you," and she stomps off. 2 minutes later, she comes stomping back over with the manager. The manager says, "My server tells me you're unhappy with your food and want to have it taken off the bill." I say, "No, that's not it at all. I specifically told her twice I do not want the meal comped because I've eaten most of it. I found this strip of paper in my food, and I asked her to let the kitchen know so they can make sure no one else has the same issue." I point out that the strip of paper that I've laid on the edge of my plate away from the 6 bites of food I didn't finish. The manager says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I know what happened here. We pre-cook the pasta and lay it out on baking trays lined with parchment paper, and then when an order comes in, the cook grabs the pasta with tongs and drops it into the boiling water to bring it back up to temperature before plating it. The cook must have grabbed the edge of the parchment paper and torn it when he picked up the noodles. I'm so sorry." Now that I know it's just parchment paper, I'm feeling a lot better about the whole thing. I say, "Oh, that makes sense. Thank you so much." Then the manager says, "Since you've eaten most of your entree, we can't comp it, but I'd be happy to have them make another one or give you a free dessert." I reply, "Not necessary. Please just go ahead and bring me the bill. I'm happy to pay for the chicken Alfredo." The manager and server leave. The server comes stomping back over. She says, "Here you go," and slams the receipt book on the table. "The manager went ahead and comped your meal since you made such a big deal about it." I open the book, and sure enough, the receipt is just for my iced tea. I take out a $10 bill and slip it into the book and hand it to the server saying, "No change needed. Thank you." I really would have been happy to pay for my meal. I ate it. I'm happy to pay for it. What I'm not happy about is having a treater treat me like I'm trying to scam the restaurant when I repeatedly tell her I don't want my meal comped. That time, I got accused of shoplifting. I've really enjoyed reading the stories on these Tales From subs for a long time, but I just now got around to making an account. This story almost sounds made up, but I assure you this happened and has been a favorite funny tale for my mom to recount. This happened a long time ago, when I was in 5th grade to be exact. Back in those days, parents were much more apt to let their kids roam freely in stores. That's just what I was doing at the mall on this particular day. It was my birthday, and my mom had taken a friend and I out to eat and then on a little shopping spree around the mall. I ate my absolute food court favorite, spaghetti with meatballs. Then it was time to hit up Fanrino Surprises. As I was leaving the food court, I let my mom know that I was feeling a little queasy. As all responsible parents would do, she gave me an empty bag to carry around in case I got sick and just sent me and my friend on our way. In my innocent mind, it never occurred to me that carrying around an empty bag would look suspicious. I mean, really, you would think a shoplifter wouldn't be so obvious about things anyway, but here I was, small for my age, super self-conscious 5th grade girl, arousing suspicion as I walked from store to store. While pondering which karopi to add to my frog collection, a Fanrio employee asked me why I was carrying around an empty bag. I told her that I'd been feeling sick, and my mom gave me the bag to carry with me. She nodded as if this sort of made sense, but it still didn't occur to me that I looked odd. Next stop, McVeigh's. My stomach was starting to feel more and more unsettled, so I was sort of meandering aimlessly around the clothing aisles, waiting for my friend to do her thing. An employee asked me a few times if I needed any help, but I'm still completely oblivious. Finally, relief was about to come. I yanked open the trusty bag and vomited the contents of my spaghetti lunch. I no longer had a suspicious-looking empty bag, but instead had a bag full of green liquid, partially digested food, and a few undigested noodles thrown in for good measure. I grabbed my friend and we ran into the dressing room, unsure what to do with this full bag of vomit. While in a stall, we overheard two employees come in, seeming to discuss the fact that two girls had run in the dressing room. It was at this time that I finally realized people thought something was up. We conversed for a couple of minutes and came up with a plan. We would run out of the dressing room, exit out the nearest doors, and drop the load in the trash as quick as possible. As soon as we came running out, however, we were surrounded by about 5 employees who demanded to see the contents of the bag. I was so ashamed, all I could manage to do was mutter a meek, "I'm sorry, I got sick," as I handed the bag to a lucky employee. My friend and I quickly walked off with no one calling or chasing after us. I have no idea what happened behind us or what they did when they looked inside the bag, but it was literally a couple of years before I had the nerve to walk back into that store. I was quite relieved when they finally shut down for good. Definitely my most embarrassing childhood story, and I'm sure the employees probably shared this tale of how they caught a shoplifter at some point in their lives as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.